People who've actually slept with their step-sibling or sibling. How did it happen and how was your relationship affected? Story 1. My older brother dated our older stepsister. He was 15 to 16, she was 30 to 32. My mom was livid about it. Her dad pretended it wasn't happening. She was a bit of a sugar mama, bought him lots of nice stuff, flew him places. She took him to parties and did drugs with etc. Slept with him. My mom thinks she dated my brother just to spite her. I don't know how valid that is, wouldn't surprise me. But my mom was also a piece of work, and to get back at her and her husband for allowing it, she slept with her stepson. Don't worry, I'm still in therapy. Story 2. I had a friend in high school that dated this girl for like 6 months before their parents decided to randomly get married. The parents, only dated for like a month. A few months later he is trying to set me up with his sister and bragging that she gives good head. It was very weird. Story 3. My parents are actually step-siblings. They began dating when they were teenagers, and when their parents met they fell in love and got married, making my mom and dad step-siblings. They ended up moving in together since they were both still living with their parents, and my grandparents just let them share a room. It's always been a joke in our family that my mom is my aunt, my dad is my uncle, and my brothers are my cousins. Edit, grammar LOL. Edit 2, my grandparents didn't fall in love until after my parents had started dating, and my parents broke up after becoming step-siblings, but not before my mom got pregnant with me. Both of my brothers are half-brothers, so I'm the only one in this predicament. My parents haven't been together for 23 years, but they are still step-siblings to this day. Edit 3, hey race, a fun lil story since this is blowing up. My parents broke up before finding out that my mom was pregnant with me. One of my half-brothers is only 2 months younger than me. Once my brother's mom became pregnant, she moved into my dad's room, causing my dad to have to live with 2 separate women, both pregnant with his babies at the same time. The whole situation was messed up and hashtag 128514. Story 4. Not me but my close family. My grandmother had 3 husbands. 4 children with all different dads. My mother's dad was sexually abusive and had been sleeping with my aunt, mom's older sister. They continued that relationship for years. My grandma divorced him and he married my aunt. So my aunt was also step-grandma and my mother's dad was also uncle. When he finally died, I remember my mother saying, I don't want to go to his funeral, but I really think I should be there to support my stepmom. That woman has always had a warped sense of humor. I love it. Story 5. Dad dated a woman. He dated a lot of women, so it became normal. She had a daughter. We got drunk at a party, hooked up. Real boy meets world shit. Then they got married. And that's when we cut it out. Then they got divorced. And I'm still not boning her anymore. Story 6. This happened to me with my dad, but he kept on going and it drove me nuts. Many years ago when I was 23, I married a widow who was pretty as can be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red, and my father fell in love with her and soon they two were wed. This made my dad my son-in-law and really changed my life, for now my daughter was my mother because she was my father's wife. To complicate the matter, even though it brought me joy, I soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. My little baby then became a brother-in-law to dad, and so he became my uncle, though it made me very sad. For if he were my uncle, that would also made him brother of the widow's grown-up daughter, who was of course my stepmother. My father's wife then had a son who kept them on the run, and he became my grandchild, for he was my daughter's son. My wife is now my mother's mother, and it makes me blue, because although she is my wife, she's my grandmother too. Now if my wife is my grandmother, then I'm her grandchild, and every time I think of that it nearly drives me wild. Because now I have become the strangest case you ever saw. As husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. Story 7. Mom dated a guy. Guy had a son same age as me. We hated our parents and slept together. Had a fun time. Broke up due to him using drugs and me not dealing with it. Both are married to other people and happy. We don't talk even through we see each other at family gatherings after our parents got married. Edit to clarify, he was on drugs for years. Lied to me over and over that he was clean and he wasn't. I was always trying to support him, but he just didn't want to clean up yet. He did clean up for his wife. Story 8. Slept with my former sister-in-law. Is that close enough? How'd it happen? She hated my ex-wife/her sister. My ex-wife cheated on me. We were drinking together about 6 months after it ended, and she said you should buck me to get even. Relationship didn't at all change. We just know each other a little better than we used to. Both dating others now, and it's like it never happened. Edit. Well, this blew up. No, the ex doesn't know. She'd kill both of us. Not even joking. Story 9. I'm late to this, but here's my story that I had posted on the Tough Guys post. Dude banged his cousin. This was in reply to a comment, well, at least she wins shittiest breakup story. My wife bucked her brother in my bed when I went upstairs to sleep. We had company over and they were a bit loud, and my bed is on the first floor where they all were, so I decided to go upstairs cause it would be quieter. Woke up about 2 to 3 hours later and went downstairs to grab water and rejoin my wife, but she already had company. I'm pretty sure I win shittest breakup story. Edit, probably should have used a throwaway for this, but whatever. Edit 2, to answer a lot of common questions. They have the same mother but different fathers, so they're technically half brother/sister. She was adopted and met him about 6 months prior. They were talking on the phone constantly, to the point where even though I was happy she found her family, I had to let her know I thought the frequency of their talking was weird. There, still, literally on the phone 24/7. I've caught her trying to put him on mute and in her pocket so they'd still be together. It's insanely unhealthy. Yes, they were drunk. But they knew what they were doing. And they're still doing it to this day. I found out about this in February of 2019. I attempted to try to work things out with her and she had said they were just talking and it wasn't like that anymore. I got a Facebook video chat request from her brother's then girlfriend telling me she found inappropriate texts between them and left him. She again told me they were done and they weren't taking anymore after that because his girlfriend had outed them to her newfound family, and she received messages from her sisters telling her they were disgusted and wished they never found her, etc. I believed again they were done at this point. We were going out for my birthday in April and I found her sending pictures of herself dressed up to him with replies about how sexy she looked in emails between them about how, you know what we have, we can't deny it anymore. It was gut-wrenching and heartbreaking. I served her shortly after. She's been delaying the court dates, claiming she needs more time to find a lawyer because she doesn't have anywhere else to go and the house is in my name and I can't exactly evict her. The Game of Thrones references aren't as funny as you think they are when it's happening to you in real life. That was one of my favorite shows and I can't even think about it anymore. Neither are the Shub ones. I literally can't go on a SX site to jerk off anymore because everything is incest related and I instantly shut down. I may do a tofu of my own or maybe a different subreddit at some point. It's been cathartic to get this out there and read some nice replies and support from everyone, but the jokes and the people who think I'm making this up for bucking internet points might outweigh it. For everyone who said something kind or comforting, thank you. And thank you for the awards, although I really don't think this is award worthy. I'm absolutely miserable. I've been with her for literally half my life. She's the mother of my child. I never expected to lose her like this. Edit 3, thanks to, mostly, everyone for the kind words, support, and advice. A lot of the common questions people have asked have been answered on my original post, which you can read on my comment history if you're interested. For the handful of people who are calling me an idiot or a cuck and whatever other fun names you thought up just because I didn't flip a switch in my head and immediately remove this person from my life, or because I tried to work through it with her to see if this relationship could be saved, it's a lot harder than you think. I wish it were that easy, but it's not. I'm going to turn 35 this year and we've been together for 17 years. We have a 6-year-old child who does not understand what's going on. I really hope none of you find yourself in the position I was put in, but I can guarantee you wouldn't be able to snap your fingers and move on either, so save your snarky bullshit. You don't just wake up one day and decide every feeling you've had for the love of your life and the mother of your child is gone. It's taken me some time and I'm slowly moving on, but I'd be lying if I said I still didn't care about her. There are times when we're doing things together with my son and I have to remind myself that we're not together anymore. It's hard, and it probably will be for a very long time. Story 10. My dad's brother married my mom's sister. My parents somehow didn't really meet until several months after the wedding. My cousins and I are as close to incest as it gets without actually crossing blood relatives. Just for fun, my siblings have a different dad than me, so I actually look more related to those cousins than I do my own siblings. I just try to not explain that to people, but it definitely is weird when it gets out. Edit, I should explain it's only weird because people get confused until they figure out it's just two sisters married two brothers. My parents are divorced now anyway, so it rarely comes up, more if we have a get-together and a newcomer mentions it's funny I look like my cousins and my siblings and I don't look related pretty much. If you made it this far, please consider pressing the subscribe and like button. Now continue to the video. Story 11. My father had a relationship before he met my mom. 2 children, 1 male, 1 female. Father met my mom later on and had 2 kids, boys, me and bro. So that gives me and bro plus 1/2 bro and 1/2 sis. Well, mom is one of 3 identical triplets. Her sister, Aunt Triplet, goes on and has a couple of her own, who become my cousins. We're all sitting around drinking at a barbecue one day and it occurs to me that my so-called cousins are just as genetically related to me as my half-siblings are. Try explaining that to a group of drunks. Story 12. Our parents met at our wedding. Mom was a widow, my father-in-law divorced, so we weren't step-siblings when we got married, but it still freaks people out. Confused the hell out of our kids, especially when I begged them to call me auntie when we went into stores. They were the devil's own in stores. Story 13. I slept with my stepsister. She came in town for visit her dad, and when I went outside to help bring luggage and she gave me the buck me eyes as soon as she saw me, and instantly I knew I was in trouble. For a week and a half I kept being polite and trying to remain distant because I had been warned by my stepdad and her brothers to not even look in her direction, not bring any friends over, not do anything wrong, and I had absolutely no intention of doing so. But it was the first time I had ever had anyone want me that badly, and I gave in and we secretly got together for the remainder of the month she spent in town. We were both young and dumb and fell in love and thought we hit it well, but when they found out after she left I got my ass beat. For a few years they wouldn't let her visit and we kept in touch. Then after college I moved to where she lived and we have been together ever since. 11 years now and we have a 5-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son. Everyone is completely fine with it now and we make jokes about it all the time. Edit, feel free to ask questions. First kiss kiss? First bang bang? Do my kids call me dad or uncle? First time I met her mom or grandparents? How I explain things to my dad or co-workers? Lots of funny stories to share. Story 14. My girlfriends, from 13 to 21, uncle hooked up and married my mother in 2 months from meeting when we were 17. We were both fucking pissed off. Yes, we did break up for about 7 months because every time we went anywhere people were giving us shit for being kissing cousins. We got back together and married at 19 but moved and went and see with them until our daughter was born. They had divorced by then anyways. Story 15. It was weird, she just kept bending over a lot and saying stepbrother and asking me to help her with really easy stuff. Then I swear I blinked and she was bouncing on my cock yelling this is wrong but I love it. Story 16. My sister and I are both sex workers. There have been numerous occasions when we've tag teamed a client. We never tell them, and I'm not really sure why, because they'd probably pay more for that. Anyway, it's always the most hilarious thing ever and we both have to try really hard to not laugh. To be clear, she and I don't have any contact during these sessions. Sorry if that disappoints anyone. Usually one of us would put our tits in a dude's face while the other takes care of him downstairs. Simple. Story 17. I lost my virginity to my third cousin by blood. Had no idea we were related until 6 months into the relationship. Open to questions though, but that's about the closest I can get to what OP asked. I hate that bitch now though. Story 18. Really nasty breakup while I was a college freshman and she was a high school senior. We both were in the wrong, but she had cheated on a previous boyfriend before and was staying in too close of contact with the other guy. I wasn't comfortable with that, and then she started hiding her interactions with him. Then I found out that all her male friends were people she had some sort of sexual relationship with, and that made me very uncomfortable. In the end, I couldn't get over the jealousy or the fact that she was a liar and that her parents were on the brink of a nasty divorce, which manifested into her mother treating me terribly. We broke up around Christmas. We continued to stay in contact until she decided to move on. Months later, I remember I just wanted closure when she was driving back up from college and she and her mom were on the phone laughing at me as I was crying. I'll never forget that humiliation. It changed me forever. We ended up reconnecting about a year and a half ago, and she told me she reached out to me drunk and then told me she slept with my best friend from my study abroad. I'll never forgive her for the lies, the deceit regarding her former sexual partners, the way her mother treated me, and the way she emasculated me. Story 19. My mom had a best friend. She died, adopted her son who was older than me. I was 8. He was 18. And I idolized him. He took me shopping, out to eat, and just hung me like a brother. I lived my father, my mom dies, we both grow up. Run into him when I was 19 and that was a fun weekend. Now I'm much older, we still talk, but we never talk about it. Story 20. I dated I believe it was third cousin once removed or something like that for about 6 months. We had already been exclusively dating for like a month when I mentioned my great-great-grandfather who was a tiny bit famous in my state, and he knew exactly who I was talking about, which is not normal. Turns out it's because that guy was also his great-great-grandfather. I freaked out and asked my mom about her family history. He asked his mom. Great-great-grandfather was a polygamist. I came from one wife and he came from another. It was weird, but not weird enough to stop. I remember going to his grandmother's house for Thanksgiving, located in the area that aforementioned GG grandfather was famous for, and marveled at how similar it was to my own grandma's house. Thanks Mormons. Edit, I forgot I have another story. I dated someone for 5 years. We got engaged and he ended our relationship via email 7 weeks before the wedding. He's a total piece of shit. But we were also distantly related. We both are descended from Samuel Adams. I thought it was hilarious. He was horrified and reconsidered our relationship. The discovery was made while we eating German pancakes, so I will now forever associate that memory with German pancakes. Haha. Story 21. So I wasn't the one who slept with my own relative, but I was involved in a situation. My childhood friend, Reba, was in love with this dude Greg. Greg was a typical American dude, average looks, liked football, school, girls repeat. Reba was gorgeous. 12 out of 10 handily. Would totally risk TMJ for her, if you catch my drift. The issue was though, that she was boring as buck. Favorite color? White. Favorite food? Iron Kids bread. Just so bucking dull. Thus, not many people were into her, and I'm not talking just romantically. She had few friends and no dates and no Greg. So one day, Reba and I are walking home from school and we see Greg on her front steps. Reba is shaking with excitement, anticipation. She's probably thinking #FissusMiment or some shit. We reach Greg and Reba can't bucking talk, so I ask him what he's doing there. He looks straight at Reba and asks, "Did you know that our parents were bucking?" She did not. Fast forward some months and their parents get married and they all move in together. Reba gives up the dream of Greg because pseudo-family and all that. Life goes on and everyone kind of just goes with it. The three of us become friends and figure out we have stuff in common. We are cordial to one another at school, etc. So senior year starts and my stupid bisexual ass catches feelings for Reba. She's no longer talking about Greg all the time, so I'm learning more about her as a person and she's kinda dope in addition to being Eliza Dushku, SP? Hot. We get trashed off of Smirnoff Ice and I make a move and she bucking goes for it. Maybe it's hormones, maybe it's the genuine love of friendship, but something carries us out of friendship and into running with scissors. We're going at it all the time. My hands are barely on anything that's not a boob. Naturally, one day, our horny little asses get down to it somewhere we shouldn't and Greg catches us. Now Reba is sufficiently interesting to him. No one would care if either of us is queer, but it's high school goddammit, so we're trying to just, avoid the convo. Greg promises to keep his trap shut. Time passes. It's winter break and someone has a party. Small towns, what you gonna do? Greg and Reba and I are all going. We play flip cup and quarters and beer pong and never have I ever. I'm sitting in between the two of them and not surprisingly, I'm experienced vagina feelings. They're both touching me, we're all tipsy but not drunk, I know it's about to go down. Reba and I run off to find a room and start making out. Greg finds us a few minutes later and sits next to us on the bed. I'm all in at this point, so I start kissing Reba again and Greg just watches, low-key stroking himself through his jeans. I catch on and pat a spot on the bed closer to us, which he settles into. I take one of my hand and replace his, unzipping his jeans, while my other hand is in Reba's bra. The rest just kind of comes together. We have a great time and no combination of coupling is overlooked. It's a magical night for all. We leave our friend's house and all go back to Greg and Reba's. Reba passes out, but I can't sleep. I run into Greg in the kitchen and we get to talking. He says that he will never forget tonight and he's always been into me. I ask about Reba and he says, yeah, that was weird, but she is so hot though. He knows that she should be off limits, so he plans to make sure this was a one-time thing with her. We talk and have a good rhyme and then we end up bucking in his room and passing out together. I wake up the next morning and hear some weird sounds. I look over and Reba is butt-ass naked, bouncing on her stepbrother's D. So much for a one-time thing. I know I shouldn't be pissed because I'd just been where she is, but I didn't like what I saw. I knew she was going to catch feelings and it would be a real goddamn problem. I was right. She was even more in love with him after that. Reba would go on and on about how he was the one. Greg was not feeling the same, but he was a teenage boy with an eager sex partner 10 feet away. They went at it like rabbits until graduation. I hooked up with each of them off and on, but not together. That would have been too weird. They went to separate colleges and I went to the same school as Greg. We didn't date or anything else at that point, but I heard stories from girls who dated him about how close he was with his family and how he'd go home all the time to be with them and it was so cute. I knew the truth though, he was going home to bang his sister. Midway through college, Reba got pregnant. Greg wanted to bail but couldn't because they were bucking family. Baby is born and as the kid grows up, he looks just like Greg. The parents figure it out and all hell breaks loose. They kick the kids out and refuse to talk to them for a year or more. Greg shows up at my dorm trashed in senior year of college. One more time for old time's sake? Reddit, I'm not a smart man. We have a great night and I never see him again. Last I heard Reba's an astrophysicist. Greg is a stay-at-home dad to their 3 kids. I match with him on Tinder regularly. Edit 12:49 Eastern Standard Time. Damn, fam. Thanks for the love. Some responses to some questions, in no particular order. True story. I was the stereotypical horny bisexual when I was a teenager. This was one of my formative experiences with bucking for sure. 1A. I did write some decent angsty erotica as a teen. 1B. There is more to Reba's story. It's much like you/Michelle LaBelle frames in her back cover blub. Not sure how I'll share, but I'll find a way soon. Names have been changed, but Reba was her cat's name. Greg is a cheating whore. Per small town gossip, Reba knows but doesn't care she's wrestling with her 20-something female lab assistant and living the dream. It's a good old-fashioned American stay together for the tax break situation. And hashtag 127482 and hashtag 127480. I bucking love you thirsty bastards.